welcome. This is actually take 2. We've already tried starting this podcast once before, but it got pretty awkward because my mom called and such like that in the middle of it. But yeah, let's just ignore that and let's just start the show. Basically, if you didn't know, it's been about, I'd say 20 minutes since we were just on our Hawk show, which hasn't uploaded yet, so who knows, this show could be a lot shorter to upload first, but we're planning on doing a Hawk show and Brave show with today, what's today's date, guys? Let me just check.
June 19th.
June 19th, yes, thank you, Connor. So, yes, we have 2 shows out for you today. Well, I'm trying my best to get our lacrosse host, Ryan Barnett, who's a big Swarm fan. He lives over in the Fulton County, Gwinnett County area border, so he's a big Swarm fan. I'm trying to get him to come on again and do a Swarm show for the championship, so congratulations to them. But anyway, let's get on with the Braves talk. Let's talk about the man who we just traded for 2 of our prospects, and who's a 3-time All-Star, I believe. 3-time All-Star. He's from Stone Mountain, Georgia, who has 2 straight walk-offs in who had 2 walk-offs in less than 24 hours. Brandon Phillips. Yeah, he's been hitting the ball pretty well lately. Jordan, what do you think his mindset has been to help the Braves get these 2 wins against, who was it, the Marlins the last 2 days?
I just think it's the thing that they're thinking, oh, well, we just came off a series where we can beat the Nationals. We can beat teams like this. And they're thinking, hey, if we can beat the Nationals, we can beat the Marlins. And, that's what they came with, and that's what, they can beat these teams. They just have to play Braves baseball.
Bravo's baseball. And Connor, what are your thoughts on the same question?
As you guys probably noticed, the Marlins manager took out one of the outfielders and put in an extra infielder, so if it was a ground ball, then they could so it would be easier for them to get the play at second. And when it happened, both infielders were looking at each other like, oh, are you going to get the ball? It was just a big miscommunication, and that's how it got past him, and Brandon Phillips hit a second straight walk-off.
And I think Yelich actually he probably did have a chance to throw him out with his arm, but he couldn't field it cleanly, and luckily for the Braves, he didn't. And so they walked out of there 2 straight wins at home. Friday night, I know you were there, Connor, and so was my friend Sanders, and they had the Dansby bobbleheads. But yeah, They got shut out 5-0, and they come back 2 days and have comebacks later in the game with I think Saturday night they made it a little bit more dramatic than it needed to be. Weren't they up by a few runs late in the game?
It was 7. Well, the first game we were down 7-3, and the second game we were down 2-0.
Oh, okay. I thought we were winning late in the game against the Marlins on Saturday night, and we came back and won. And then you could see on Sunday we were down 2-0 early. We got 4 runs, I think, the very next inning. Yeah.
We were up, but came back from 7-3.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I thought that what I was thinking is I thought they were up like 4-1 in the 8th inning or something like that. But anyway, let's talk about a little bit unnormal subject for podcast is about the Dansby bobbleheads. Dansby, Marietta grad from Vanderbilt University. He was the number 1 pick by the Diamondbacks back in 2015. No, 2016. Sorry, I don't know what I was thinking there. He was traded directly to the Atlanta Braves with for the Shelby Miller deal, and I think they also got Ender Inciarte out of that deal. And the Braves have really cashed in on that. Shelby Miller struggling and down in Arizona, who's pretty much has struggled his whole time in Atlanta too. So that was a great trade for Atlanta. And Dansby, who didn't start out the year very well, what was he batting, like 100 or something like that? He earned himself a bobblehead, and my dad actually made a pretty mean joke at one of the games earlier this year which I was at. He said, well, he's
from Vanderbilt too, but while we're talking about Vanderbilt and how we just got done with the NBA draft podcast, let's talk about the guy we picked up from Vanderbilt, Kyle Wright.
Yeah.
as you were saying earlier, Blake, well, where Dansby was struggling, was in a slump a little bit. The first 2 games I went to, he hit home runs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's definitely
go
true. One thing my dad did say though is he didn't think he would be able to get his bobblehead. He thought he'd be down in AAA by the time his bobblehead was here. And one thing that's weird is Rio Ruiz, who's been back and forth a lot this year. He has a superhero bobblehead down in Gwinnett. I think it was either a few days ago or it's coming up on Superhero Night out down at Coolray Field. And sad thing to note is I think the Gwinnett Braves are looking up a name change, which I don't get. I mean, I like the farm system the way it is. They got the Fire Frogs down in Florida, but other than that, you pretty much can spy your MLB teams without having to know them. It's the Mississippi Braves, the Gwinnett Braves, the Danville Braves, the Rome Braves, and the Florida Fire Frogs. I mean, they're the only outlier, but I mean, you can always just remember one of them. But why would the Braves brought Gwinnett from Richmond to make them be closer to home and to be able to bring the players back and forth when they need to, especially late in the year or a time like this in the Braves era. But now, as the Braves move a little bit further away again, as they move probably another hour or two with traffic to be able to transport a player from Gwinnett, he's now they're thinking of changing their name too. I'm like, to me that just doesn't seem right. I mean, Connor, why do you think the Gwinnett Braves are trying to change their name? I heard, before you get to it, just one more thing. I heard it's about a stupid reason about people going to the wrong stadium. I don't really see how that can happen, but anyway, Connor, take it away.
Well, I don't think the reason why is because they're going to the wrong stadium, but I think they're just trying to think of a unique name. I believe the Rome Braves and Mississippi Braves will keep the name Braves, but I think the main reason why the Gwinnett Braves are changing their name is because they just want a unique name so they can be different from Atlanta. So they've always been Braves since they came into the International Baseball League in 2009.
Yeah.
And ever since, it's just been the same old thing. And I think many of the fans requested that they to change their name because it's time to get a unique name in the system.
And that definitely makes sense there. Jordan, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I actually like the fact that we're changing the name. Everybody's saying, like, oh, well, I play for the Braves. And you're like, well, what Braves do you play for? Hey, which one is there?
Who play for the Braves?
I mean, no, what I want to ask, really, what I've been wondering, what name, there's a few names out there that I really like, and one name that stands out to me is the Choppers, knowing that their mascot name is Chopper. So what do y'all think about the Choppers being down in Gwinnett? The Gwinnett Choppers, the Gwinnett, maybe like 36ers or 76ers or something like that, or something like that, But I really like the Choppers. What do y'all think about that?
What about the Bravos?
Bravo.
The Bravos, like they call them. Or, I think they're trying to go with a unique route there. I mean, Choppers, you can't think that does relate to the Braves. Because you think of Chop, you think of Florida State and the Braves. Some people think of both, some people think of one or the other. But, it's just, I'm not really sure why they're changing their name. To be honest, I am pretty not that well with change. I just moved back from my new house back in September. The whole reason I was able to adjust to the move is just one reason. That I thought part of our new house is I was getting a home theater for myself. We got our projector and my PS4 set up. We got home audio, which is pretty much the dream life for me. I was able to I was able to go around the house and play any song I pleased through the speakers, which is very nice, but it was very expensive to be able to set up. And the one thing that wanted us to do that, this is a bit personal story, I know we're getting off track here, but when we looked at the house the first time, they had this projector screen, But they took all the projectors, they took all the wires, so they basically left the projector as like clickbait, as say it's a YouTube video, to make them want to buy a house, especially if they had a kid like me, and or a big family. And sure enough, we had to do the hard work, but we bought the house anyway. It had pretty much everything we needed. But yeah, that was the whole reason I was able to handle that change from house to house there. But I lived in that house all my life, and I guess another part of it is my dad, who lives in a separate house. He's still in the same house, but other than that, that's just part of the reason why I guess why I was able to handle that. But I'm pretty hard with change, so that's pretty much why I'm going to from. Why would the Gwinnett Braves want to change their name? I can understand you guys would think it's a good idea, but I'm confused. My dad is confused on their part too. But let's just move on to Sean Newcomb, the new who they pulled up. Who did they pull him up for? They pulled him up for, was it Yeah, they pulled him up for Bartolo Colon, who they put on the 10-day DL. Who I think he's back on the bench now. But as a 44-year-old pitcher, as we talked about this, I think before the Hawk Show started, who would want him? I mean, I'm for sure enough he's going to retire after this off season. I mean, if he doesn't, I think he's a bit crazy. Definitely his stats are slipping away from his grip. To be honest, I thought R.A. Dickey would be a better pickup, I thought Bartolo would be a better pickup than R.A. Dickey was. It's been the exact opposite, and I think the only way we would be able to trade him away is somebody who's like just on the brink of contending for the playoffs. Like, think of the Pirates last year. Weren't the Pirates like they had a late season swing which brought them closer into contention? Let's think of some team in that same scenario this year. That'd be an only team I think would want to pick somebody up like Bartolo. But it's not like they're going to give us a key piece back, so I don't know. Connor and Jordan, what are your thoughts on Bartolo's situation in Atlanta?
Well, of course, they put him on the 10-day deal because they wanted to keep him in Atlanta because there was some speculation of him possibly getting traded or cut from the team so they could have his bobblehead night and fans would still show up to the game and attendance wouldn't slip that so attendance wouldn't slip from that game because of the way he's pitching currently.
I mean, Jordan, what are your thoughts?
When we were talking about places for Bartolo Colon, you gotta take it real, anybody who contenders who want a little, maybe out of the bullpen, like a guy like Bartolo Colon, maybe pitch inning or two, come in the lead spot. But one spot I was thinking of, is that they put Martinez up on quad, and I was thinking of maybe St. Louis. They always find themselves in the playoffs somehow, some way. They're always there in that wild card or winning the division, something like that. I was thinking, one place to trade to. Got guys, pick up guys like that. Trade to league. They no way for getting Adam Wainwright, get Martinez. But if you get guys like Tommy Pham, Carpenter, they got Matt Adams there, which is a jackpot, you just get guys who can hit the ball, come in, pitch, and hitting. These guys got full fitness. That's what we got Big City from, and look where we're at now. Big City's hitting over 300, and Big City less than 250.
I think part of it is Sean Newcomb. They're saying he should have at least one more start before they pull. They're thinking about probably putting him back into AAA until they need him again. But Connor, you said that when you were at the game the other night that Sean Newcomb made you feel uneasy or something. What? Why? I just wondering what was going through your head.
Against the Mets, I know earned runs allowed. They come into games he didn't have an ERA. And of course, the grand slam was given up by the bullpen. But something felt like that he was not ready. And of course, he gave up the first run in the top of the first against the Marlins. And I just knew that through the first few innings, when our offense can do things, that it's going to be definitely a Miami Marlins win that night.
let's go back to Bartolo. I'm gonna go back to Bartolo here for like 20 seconds. Just a fun fact to pop out. When he started, I think when he signed with the Mets back in like 2014. Yeah, it was 2014. He had so many. I think he only lost in Atlanta legit one time. We beat him up in New York a few times when he was starting, but when he pitched at SunTrust Park as a New York Met, it was I think he only had one loss. But now he comes to play for Atlanta. It's been the exact opposite. Like my mom always says, I've pretty much said the same thing. It seems like whenever Atlanta gets somebody decent to add to the roster, they choke. Like B.J. Upton. Let's think of a Falcons term. They got. Who'd they get a few years ago? Who they ended up trading right anyway? It seems like anytime that let's hope like Don Terry Poe's not the same way, but it seems like Atlanta, whenever they get a star to help them out, and it's like they end up just choking. But anyway, that's enough for
I'm gonna go back to Sean Duke deal, and then I'm gonna go back to that.
Okay.
Come on now. Sean Newcomb, I don't blame him for having only how many runs did he give up? Two in the first 3 innings, something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't really blame that on him. It's only a second start. We're like, I remember now we were thinking about fault damage to Ron. Like he had his first 2 games he gave up a couple runs in the second start. First start gave up a run. And then we're like, oh, Ron is pitching out again. And he's already fault damage. We're like, oh, fault damage is hard. Can't really act. He's not really accurate. Can't control. Can't locate. Look out now. They're saying he needs the next Johnson. And that's hard. That's hard to come by. And when the Braves they do get somebody decent, but when we got DJ Upton, we got rid of him because he was hitting under 200, just barely over 100. And then we got Justin Upton. He wasn't really performing as well as he could have.
What?
And we're thinking about we got Shelby Miller.
What I'm thinking is when Justin, I think with the Braves, like when they decided to rebuild out of the blue, I think most of what the fans were thinking is, okay, we're going to get rid of B.J. Upton, bring in somebody to replace him, and it's just gone downhill from there. Literally, what they did was they decided, okay, we're getting rid of B.J., and it seems like they tried to get rid of everybody but B.J. until the day before opening day, and they were able to trade him for I think they picked up Cameron Maybin and a few other picks. Was one more person, and then they traded
Cameron Maybin.
Yeah.
Eric Young Jr.
No, Eric Young Jr. was picked up in free agency. But yeah.
Yeah, and that was the year we got Shelby Miller, Cameron Maybin, Eric Young.
And that team was pretty good for the first half of the year.
If you remember, we got Marquez that year too.
Yeah, and then also I think Johnny Gomes was on the team for quite a while that year.
We also got Chase Peterson.
We got Kelly Johnson and Jeff Francoeur.
Yeah, and then Jeff Francoeur didn't come back till last year. But then you remember Johnny Gomes, who was a beast in Boston, got traded to Oakland with John Lester, just so I think the Red Sox could make a better playoff push with a younger team. Johnny Gomes ended up signing with Atlanta, and he was just did not perform. As I said,
when Johnny used to come off the bench, I liked him, but I didn't like him, And then we got rid of Lee Young. We got rid of Gomes, but some of these decisions make sense, some of them don't. We had Gomes, and who came out coming in that year? We got to think about our pitching staff too. Who was in the pitching staff? It was Teron Miller, Gavin Floyd, Irvin Santana, and Aaron Harane that year. And you got to think, most of the losses that we had came from the pitching staff. We had no type of hitting, no type of pitching. The bullpen came in. It was terrible. We couldn't stop nobody from get runs. We could barely reach the Marlins.
Yeah.
And
surprisingly, going into that Rocky series when we went out west, I think for 4 games before the All-Star break, our team was 500 going into Colorado with the season that they already had and the players that they had lost that offseason. That was what kept me inspired, is what they were. But as soon they lost 4 straight games to Colorado, I think in the third game in that series, Jason Grilli, I think, was out, injured himself for the rest of the year. I don't remember the exact injury. And just the Braves went downhill from there. They were down 10 games. They were 10 games under 500. They played San Francisco, and they hit a walk-off with Adonis Garcia that night. And that kept me hoping that, okay, maybe that's going to keep the team back on track, and it just never came. They went from 500 right before the All-Star break and dropped to, I think, 40 games under 500. But
yeah, I was looking here at what the Braves got for Dansby Swanson.
yes.
We traded away Shelby Miller
Yep.
and Gabe Spears
And who?
for Ender Diarte, Aaron Blair, and Dansby Swanson.
Yeah, I don't think Aaron Blair's on the team anymore, but Dansby Swanson and Ender Inciarte have been great pickups. But who did we trade away? We traded away Shelby Miller and who?
Shelby Miller and Gabe Spears.
Who's Gabe Spear?
One was a minor leaguer, one was starting pitcher.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then that same year, who remembers Mark Sperry? You remember Mark Sperry, the guy with the glasses, came up to him last year?
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah.
He on the part with the he had Tommy John surgery on the DL. He was injured.
But yeah, this has just been an interesting. Oh, that voice crack there. This has just been an interesting last I'd say 4 or 5 seasons for the Braves, from being 96 and 66, going into the playoffs. Won their division for the first time, I think, in 6 years or something or so, after winning 14 straight years, and then from 91 to 05, come back and win it in 2013, I think, for the first time in 6 years. They made the wild card many times. Before the wild card game was a game, it was just the Braves thing to rule. When their division was, when they were overtaken by the Phillies when Ryan Howard became a star, and that team was pretty good for many years. I think the Braves took control of the wild card slot, and now that it's become a game, it's just been something to play for. Not, okay, we can win the wild card and we're automatically facing in the playoffs. It's become, okay, you go to the wild card and you must win there. And that just, I think, I don't want to say the exact word, but I think PISSED, the Braves fans off when they ended up playing St. Louis back in the 2012 wild card game. We all know what happened there. The Braves came back the very next year, went 96 and 66, as I already said. And then 2014, they were, I think, leading the division back in late July. Then the Nationals the Nationals took late control. And I think the Braves just had an awful September. They started out, I think, 5 or 4 games behind the Nationals to start. And the Braves fans were thinking, okay, there's hope. We can still win the division. And I think they ended up...
Back in that August, we didn't win 1 game. We lost all our games in August. We won only 2 games in September. Came in 2015. We were thinking, hey, we're 5-0. We finished last.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I'm trying to say is, I think the Braves ended up in 2014. They ended up going 79 and 83 from being leading in the division in late July. Then you go to 2015, as we already talked about. They were 500 going right in before the All-Star break, and it went downhill for the second half of the season. 2016 was just an awful season from the start. They started out 0-9, and now here we are in 2017. And you can, whoever was saying whoever started their sentence there, keep going.
But we gotta think, we're here. We're like, we look back. If you look back at the season compared to this season, we are a lot. I mean, we have improved a lot. And we got, I think, the Braves on the verge to be contenders. Not for, I don't say I'm not saying a World Series in next year, but maybe we'll be in a World Series. I'm gonna say in a few years, but I'm gonna say next year we'll definitely be in that wild card position. Because you gotta think, we got players like, you gotta think we're improving. We got Rio Ruiz covered up. He's hitting pretty well. You got Jace Peterson who's improving. Dansby Swanson, Kurt Suzuki. Danny Santana, we got Matt Adams there. We back up Freddie Freeman. You got improving him. this Camargo, Brandon Phillips, Matt Kemp, Tyler Flowers, and you got those guys. And the pitching's doing a lot there. You got a knuckleballer, and you got Julio Swan, and you got a guy who can shut down, give you 7 innings with all zeros, and Wame Garcia. And you got a guy, and maybe Sean Newcomb, who can come in, throw 6 innings with 99 miles per hour ball, and only giving up a run. And you got Fulton Evans, who can go 97, shutting you down for 8+ innings. The Braves are improving. This is what we see in the 90s. This is what we hopefully get to continue to see later in the season and in the near future.
And doesn't it seem like the Braves, I mean, not just the Braves, but like all but for the Falcons, all the way up till this year, we're 3 years away from a championship. We're 2 years away from a championship. We're right there. I think it just seems like for the Hawks, they were back when they were number 1 seed in the East, and it sounds like Atlanta, even though they took a step back and they knew that Atlanta was a few years away from a championship. I'm not saying so now just because of the way Golden State and Cleveland are lined up right now with each other. But anyway, and then you go to Atlanta United coming out swinging. You can tell that I think they definitely can win a championship in a few years. The Braves are definitely trying to do it the best way they can to be a franchise, like the way the Cubs were last year. How they haven't really shown up as how they were last year, breaking the curse. But they, other than Dexter Fowler that they've lost, they've still got many young guys who won the ring, and they look like they can be a dynasty for a few years to come. And yeah, Connor, you've been pretty quiet lately. Do you want to say anything?
I was just gonna say also the Falcons are on the verge of also becoming a great dynasty as well.
Yeah, I think they already are. They just haven't won the ring yet. But I think they're.
Last year, I wasn't expecting for us to go to the Super Bowl. I was expecting, a good season. But this year, I really truly believe that we'll win the Super Bowl. I just feel like we'll be there. I mean, it's just there.
I mean, the way.
And I look forward to play. Look forward for that college football because we'll see me and Blake's teams in the same conference.
Same division.
Yeah.
They're playing in neutral field.
I look forward to playing y'all and look to see who goes to that. But y'all better believe I'll be mad if y'all don't beat Tennessee this year.
I do have a funny feeling that Georgia might beat Florida this year. I do.
We have a good duo. But anyway.
But yeah, I just want to say one more thing. It just seems to me that about the Falcons. You know how we started out 5-0 the year before, and we dropped down to I think 6-6. We went down to 6-7 and ended up staying 500. Then we start out the next year 4-1 off 4 straight wins. We lose opening day to the Bucs, win 4 straight, drop 2, and Atlanta's just like, okay, here we go again. And it ended up not being that. Atlanta was able to stay together, and they were able to make it to a great 11-5. After going 7-5 for most of the year, they ended the year on a 6-game win streak going into the Super Bowl. They weren't able to quite finish it off, but still, that was a great run. But anyway, another Braves topic I'd like to talk about is this podcast is starting to drag on way longer than I expected it to. Matt Whistler and Chris Medlin are still in the minor leagues, which I thought, to be honest, I like Whistler and Medlin better than Fulton Evans. After Medlin, who had some pretty good playoff starts for us back in 2012, and I think he started the 2012 Wild game.
That was their pitch compared to Fulton Evans. You said you like Whistler too. Whistler has potential, but this year is his year. He's given up a couple grand slams. I'd like to see improvement from him. Medlin coming off a season where his ERA was over 5, and now his ERA is under 3. I like what we're seeing from him. AAA, he's come very soon, actually. And,
yeah.
I mean, I like Fulton. I like Medlin, and I look forward to seeing them back here again.
Definitely the weird thing was when Medlin was part of the Braves bullpen, he converted to a starter. He came out in the 2012 wildcard game, pitched a great game. I mean, the Braves were up. This is a play that pretty much changed the whole momentum of the game, which led to the Cardinals winning, as the Braves were up 2-0 in the top of the fourth. The Cardinals had a man on first and second with one out, and the ball went right to Chipper, who is the man of the game. I guess it was just caught up on his head of all his thoughts. He overthrows Dan Uggla. It goes into right or center field. I think Jason Hayward picked it up, and I think the Cardinals came around and scored 3 runs that whole inning.
Yeah.
That pretty much changed the whole momentum for the rest of the game. And the Braves did get rigged on some of those calls, like you think of Simmons and that infield fly rule. Everybody remembers that. I didn't really understand at the time what was going on because I was a lot younger. I was at that game, and I was also at Game 2 of the 2013 NLDS. But at the time, I was passionate, but I wasn't as passionate as like, oh my God, we're in the playoffs, let's go! But
Yeah.
now you think about it now, it's just like, wow.
Yeah. So who else wrapped this up?
Connor, do you have any finishing thoughts?
Well, I think you guys basically covered it all.
I mean, come on, you've been quiet in the show. Say something else.
Well, I mean, I really don't have anything else to say.
Okay. Well, Jordan, do you want to wrap up what you're saying about the Braves' upcoming deal? Or not deal, but like at Central Park, what's going on soon?
The Braves are playing. I want to invite everybody to come to the game Friday through Saturday. Friday through Sunday, and come see the Braves play the Brewers. But Friday we got giveaway, I think. And
Yeah, it's either Friday or Saturday.
Night. Yeah, Friday is the hat day. Saturday is the 90 night, and then Sunday is the 135 game.
I think isn't it Alumni Sunday?
Huh?
It might be Alumni Sunday, I'm not sure. But yeah,
It is.
Yeah, there's something going on every day this weekend, so if you want to come out and support the Atlanta Braves, down at SunTrust Park this weekend, as Jordan said, if you couldn't hear him correctly, I'm sure you did, but I'm just going to say it again anyway. They have the old throwback hat back in Hank Aaron's era, the old A with the feathers, and then Saturday night is 90s night, thinking of back to the great times for the people that were around before us, as we were all born in the 2000s. But we still know what was going on from past experiences from parents. And then Sunday is a great Alumni Sunday, which I think they have multiple places around the stadium where you're able to meet great people like Bobby Cox, and I think Tom Glavine sometimes shows up, John Smoltz, Chipper, any of those greats. Hank Aaron is sometimes there. Make sure to get out there because, to be honest, I don't really know how long Hank Aaron might not be able to make it. He's on a cane now. He wasn't even able to throw out the opening pitch on opening night. He had to underhand toss it, so hopefully he'll be able to stay around until he's a lot older. But yeah, I guess this has been a lot longer than I expected. It's now like 3:45 when the show started at like 3:10. Well, thank you guys for listening to another edition of the Atlanta Teen Sports Center or the All Around Atlanta Sports Podcast, whatever you prefer to call us. I've been your host, Blake Newsom, along with my co-host Connor and Jordan. I guess maybe we'll see you guys later today. If not, definitely tomorrow. And we'll try to get our Swarm podcast, Swarm and Blaze podcast, focused on the Swarm mostly about their championship and who's making all that noise. Anyway, we hope you guys have a great rest of your day, I guess. But, of course we do. And thank you guys for listening.
Mm-hmm.